Welcome, everyone, to Family Comes First. I'm Vincent J. Russo.
And I'm Victoria Roberts-Strogan. Thank you for joining us today. Vincent, as we speak, more than 100,000 Americans are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. And sadly, each day, 22 men, women, and children die still waiting.
Fortunately, over 650,000 lives have been saved since 1988 because of donors, and many of them are not biologically related to the recipient. Today, we'll hear the story of a woman who decided to give the gift of life to a relative, and in the end saved the life of another. Welcome to Saving Lives on Family Comes First.
How many people do you know that would be willing to donate a kidney to another person? Would you be willing to do it?
Today, we are talking with Cindy Soma, who is one of the people who said yes, and the life of another human being was saved. We are privileged to have Cindy Soma with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
an amazing story.
So Cindy, it was some time ago, but
5 years ago.
amazing, amazing. But how did it begin? Where did it start?
It started with a family member that I have that had juvenile diabetes, was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes at the age of 7, and in her early 30s became a kidney dialysis failure. So after many fundraisers and after many things that we've tried to do to save her life, and even just to save money for a transplant if it was possible, I decided to get tested, and I did it without telling anybody because I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up if it wasn't a match. I actually, when I did it on my own, and you had to go to a lab and take your blood and then put it in the mailbox, and myself. And when I put it in the mailbox, I said to myself, I'm going to match. I just knew I would.
Oh my goodness.
And then when I matched is when I told her that this was going to happen. And it
gives you chills.
It was. And then after that, there was
Then
a
it
long
gets
process.
so much more complicated, right?
Yes.
So then
All
there's
right,
a whole
well,
process.
The
talk
Mayo
to us
Clinic.
about the process.
The Mayo Clinic, which is where it was performed in Rochester, Minnesota, which, by the way, I thought I was going to Rochester, New York, but it was Rochester, Minnesota.
It's a longer drive.
And yes, much longer. They are fabulous. They are a city in of itself. Their transplant team is unbelievably beyond reproach. They help you with everything. You have to go through many evaluations besides physical, obviously. Mental evaluation.
Sure.
How are you going to feel if this is a failure? How are you going to feel if this affects you later on? And then they give you the statistics about yourself, which is something I had given it a lot of thought before it wasn't something that I just woke up and said, this is what I'm going to do. I had to think
lightly.
about my own family.
Of course.
Sure.
God forbid anything would happen to me. What is this the right thing to do? And I did receive negative responses from my own family, cousins and whatnot, and even friends, whatnot, that I should think twice and I should really be worried about myself. But what made me overcome that was the realization that if my child was ever in trouble, who would step up?
Right.
Right.
If I wasn't a match for somebody,
right.
let's say. And that's really how that was my jumping point to say, especially my daughter, thinking about my own daughter.
Right.
Now it's not so simple. I mean, once you get through that piece, then it's not so simple that you're just going to donate this kidney to this.
Well, it turned out to be an incredible story.
Right.
We were a 3-point match. What they would like is a 5-point match. So on the day of or 2 days before when we arrived in Rochester, at the Mayo Clinic, they decided, they came to all of the people that were going to be donors that day and said, you're a 3-point match to Elise, but you're a 5-point match to Jill. Jill's husband is a 5-point match to somebody else. And it wound up being a 6-way swap that day.
Wow.
Had one of us said no, because we wanted our kidney to go to who we specified, it would have been all or nothing deal. And they never pressured us. Matter of fact, they did the opposite. They said, you can turn around and this can be over today, you can leave.
So you knew all of this before you went out there?
Yes.
That there was going to be this swap?
This swap, yes.
So that had to be, you had to really be taken back by the whole concept of it, because I'm sure you weren't thinking that initially when you were going to donate your kidney.
Absolutely not. No, I was saying to myself, I want this to go to who I want it to go to.
Right.
And then I said to myself, if I'm a 5-point match to a stranger, her odds of everybody's odds are greater, including Elise was
Right.
who I was.
Everyone's odds go up.
She was a 5-point match to a 19-year-old girl whose sister was donating.
Wow.
So if the sister can decide that she's going to donate to a stranger, how am I to decide that no, I'm not donating to someone who I don't know in Maryland?
And how old was your daughter when this was happening?
At this time, she was 8.
Wow.
No, or 9 years old.
So you know the person who received your kidney?
I know her now.
You know her now?
I know her now.
But you didn't know her before?
No, I didn't know her.
And you still have an ongoing
Yes, we have
relationship?
a
So what's that
relationship.
like?
It's fabulous. I get flowers every year on our anniversary, and she thanks me at every point in her life. You know, she's always saying that she's recently on vacation.
Right.
You know, always thanking me
So you
for
stay in
at any
touch.
time. Yes.
Yeah. There was just a story on the news about a girl who her father had died, and the man who received her father's heart, I think it was, walked her down the aisle.
Wow. Yes, I do remember that too.
Yeah.
Because the connection is so profound.
So how do you feel? You wake up in the morning, and how do you feel that you've saved another person's life?
I don't really think about
That's
that.
incredible.
It is very incredible. What I really think about think about all the people that science, think about medicine, think about these doctors that if they weren't here, this would not be possible.
But this is different. You
It's
gave
a
a
part
part
of
of
you.
yourself.
I gave a part of it, you're right,
really
but
did.
also I conceived, I had trouble conceiving my third child and went through all sorts of, I went through IVF and everything. What if that science wasn't there?
That's true.
She wouldn't be here. The love of my life would, besides I love my sons very much.
Yes.
Let's not say that, but
No doubt.
she would not be here if I
That's
didn't
right.
use the miracle of science, which, you know, using all of these drugs and you don't know what's going to happen to you. The unknown for me, they've reached, when you go through the kidney transplant, all of the process, they reassured me that if anything should happen to me, trauma, if I was ever in
Yes,
an accident
of
and whatnot, I go straight to the top of the list
Because you've donated.
because I've donated, which is very important to me, because if I had to become a donor recipient, I don't know if I could have done this
That's
from the
right.
sake of my family.
Right.
I don't know if I could be at the bottom waiting like everybody else because I decided to donate.
So they reassure you
Yes.
and allow you to give.
They still, even though they
Yes.
reassure you, I will tell you that they give you every opportunity because they do not want you to regret later on. And I have not they made me think of things that I've never thought about.
I was going to ask you, do you ever
Yeah.
have reservations?
Never. I feel
Never.
I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I also do, while I'm an advocate, I have people that, especially when it comes to saving animals,
Yeah.
I do not push this on people.
right.
It is
No.
so personal.
But share your story that you've inspired another person.
Yes, it's a very sad story, but I'll share it. I had my son's best friend was in a tragic accident a year ago in March, and when it came time to decide to donate his organs, the family, the mother of his best friend, went to his friends and said, "I can't make this decision. Would you do this? What would you do?" And somebody piped up and said, if you know someone that needs his kidney, his heart, whatever it is that you decide, there were certain things that she did not want to donate, she was against, give it to them. And she said, I do know somebody at work that needs a kidney. This person now is walking around her office with her son's kidney. I talked to her about coming on, and she's like, this is an amazing story that you should, unfortunately she's away.
But that you've inspired so many people, Cindy, and you are a remarkable person. I'm going to embarrass you now because you have inspired so many people, and you've been recognized. We had Wells, the Wells Crowther Award, the Red Bandana Award, and we've spoken to his parents, Jefferson and Allison, on the show. And you were the recipient of the Red Bandana Award because of your generosity and your ability to inspire people to do this.
The Red Bandana Award of the Gotham City Networking Group. So great honor. We're going to take a break We're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Family Comes First. We've been talking with Cindy Soma, whose gift of a kidney donation saved a life. And joining us now is Jillian Cohen, who is also a transplant recipient. So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jillian, for joining us. So start at the beginning and tell us your story.
So I was born with a rare liver disease called biliary atresia. And what biliary atresia is when the bile ducts, when you're either not born with them or they malform.
Okay.
So that makes bile build up in your liver and then cause you to get sicker and sicker.
Mm.
And it's a pediatric liver disease.
Okay.
So at some point, you needed a new liver.
Yeah, we always knew that I was going to need a liver. We just didn't know when exactly.
Right. How long you could make it
Yeah.
without the
How old
transplant.
were you when you got to that point?
I was 7 years. Well, I was doing fine until I was 7. A cancerous tumor was found in my liver. Hepatocellular carcinoma. I said that wrong.
Yeah.
That's okay. We wouldn't know.
And then so that the tumor, they found the tumor, which made my liver get sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
And then they immediately put me up to status 1,
Wow.
most critical, on the pediatric transplant waiting list. And within 16 days of being on the transplant waiting list, I received my liver.
So fortunate. That was quick. Thank God, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any sense of how long you would be okay on a list? Like, did they give you any sort of prognosis, that, I mean, could you have been on the list a year or two? And
It probably could have been on the list a year or two, but I think because my situation and I was young.
was more desperate?
Yeah.
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 So did you know your donor?
No, I don't know. All I knew about it was she was 26, car accident.
Oh,
So what was recovery like?
It was obviously very hard because I couldn't go outside a lot, so I had to stay. I was in the hospital for 9 days, and it's just really like going with a lot of people, doctors coming in and out, getting poked a lot, blood pressure, blood taken.
A lot
Right.
of that. Not fun.
No,
Not
never,
fun.
never fun.
and any concerns today? I mean, how are you doing with this, with the transplant? And do you have to see doctors on an ongoing basis to like check it and monitor?
Yeah, I see a GI doctor just to make sure that everything's good, nothing's
Right.
changed. I
Right.
get blood tests when I have to, but it's been 11 years since my transplant,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
I'm doing very well.
That's
God.
great.
Thank God.
That's
And you're an
great.
advocate now. You
Yes.
speak about this.
Yes, I do.
Tell us about that.
So I speak for LiveOnNY York
Okay.
about like why organ donation is so good. Like if one person can save a life, even if you don't know them,
Yeah.
it helps so many
Right.
people.
Yeah, and you're looking at Cindy, who's done it.
Yeah.
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 You have to get over that hurdle of
That's-
if it's saving one, whether you're a cadaver donor or a living
Right.
donor,
Right.
if you can do your part to help
Right.
someone save.
And there are
help their
different fears and I guess reserves connected to both of those things. But,
Yeah, so what do you say to people? Like you said, you're an advocate. Like, what does that mean?
I do various speeches, different places, and I just try to tell them my story and then like how can to sign up to be an organ donor, like what good it can do,
Right.
and how many lives you can save.
I bet people don't really know a lot about it,
Yeah.
And you can opt in on your driver's license?
Yes, you can. When you go to the DMV, I believe you can register to
Right.
become an organ donor.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
So how does it feel knowing that someone who unfortunately passed away was able to save your life?
Obviously, it is sad, but at the same time, their family decided to do something very good to help
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you feel like you kind of have somebody else's organ, but you're kind of carrying on their legacy, I guess.
Yeah,
their life.
sure.
Yeah. So it creates a different perspective in how
Yeah.
you live.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely see the world like differently once everything you've been through everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have an example of that? Like, that you see life differently? Like, is it some feeling that's changed, or
Well-
things you might say to people?
Well, like before I had my transplant, I couldn't do like normal activities. Like I couldn't like have sleepovers or like just do like ride a bike. Ever since then, it's like I'm a normal kid, even though that I did have these challenges. I'm all better and everything is all good.
Right.
Yeah.
No one would know unless you chose to share it.
Exactly.
So that's the ultimate choice, you can share or not share and go through your life however you want. But you've chose to share and you've chose to speak out, which is tremendous work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was the transplant? Which hospital?
It was Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City.
Okay. And how was the treatment there? I mean, How were the doctors and everybody?
Good.
It was all good.
Yeah, I remember when I was going.
Must have been scary.
I think for anyone going through this situation, let alone a 7-year-old,
Yes.
it was very scary. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
And your family, you know,
Yeah.
everybody must have been
So
having
do-
their own feelings about.
Your support system is so important, especially
Yeah.
at that young age,
Yeah.
to have for
Yeah.
both the donor, the recipient, her parents, you know, to be able to watch that. Sure.
There's support for you, but I think there's probably also support for your folks, for your, you know, because their whole struggle with this is yet another level of love and worry and care and concern and, you know.
So you ever have the chance, like, to talk to young kids, like little kids, about this?
Like I did, not little kids, I think, but I did speak at various places. Like I said before, I've spoken at St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Oh,
I've spoken,
really?
yeah, I've spoken at
It's incredible.
various hospitals. I spoke in my high school health class.
Those are young people.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Everybody's young. Yeah.
St. Patrick's Cathedral?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what was that like?
Oh, I believe like half of it was like filled and.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, I
That's
think I
thousands
only
of people.
I only skipped like one line, but I just kept looking down in my speeches.
So you were up at the pulpit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody
Wow.
knows what you missed,
No.
right?
amazing.
That's what happens, right? You know, but no
Wow.
one knows.
And then I had like no fear. Wasn't even. I obviously was nervous, but I wasn't like
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Because you know what you want to say.
Exactly.
Right? You know what your message is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you had one thing that you wanted to, you know, we have all these viewers who are watching, and maybe some of them know a little bit about this topic, many of them
Right.
don't know anything about this topic, or maybe, you know, what would you say to them? What do you want people to know about this process? Really, both of you.
Right.
I would say that get involved. You can make a difference. Someone you don't even know.
Yeah.
I would say
Profound.
get educated because there's so much fear that it's unwarranted. Once you understand, there's also statistics prove that living donors live longer, not because they donated, but because we're forced to have yearly physicals where they would look at certain things that maybe your
That's
primary care
interesting.
doctor won't look at. So
Right.
they'll catch something in your lung. It has nothing to do with your donation.
Right.
As opposed to, we all do this as we get, I do,
Right.
as we get older. I'll
You
get my
stop,
physical
yeah.
next year becomes 3 years.
Right.
So I have to
So
do
you
this
take-
every year.
So,
it's
take
been
care of
proven.
yourself.
so
It's-
Cindy, how does it feel to listen to Jillian?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful to be able to speak on behalf, being so young and remembering these things,
Tremendous.
and paying homage to someone who,
Yeah.
you know, died tragically.
Yeah.
And I also do believe in things don't happen for, you know, things happen for
a reason.
For a
For a
reason.
reason,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, both of
Yeah.
you are such incredible people.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
so much for being here.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much
We
for being
appreciate
with us
I
today.
appreciate being here.
We're going to take a break, and we will be right back on Family Comes First. Today, like every other day, 79 people will receive an organ transplant. In fact, in 2014, over 29,000 people donated and received organs. And this is possible due to organizations that facilitate matching donors and recipients.
And joining us now is Karen Cummings, Public and Professional Education Specialist, and the point lead person for the outreach program here on Long Island. She's with the organization Live On New York.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
having me.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
very glad you're here.
And Jillian mentioned Live On New York.
She
That's
did.
right. We know how to pick them.
Yeah.
She's one of our great volunteers. She's one of
She's
our
amazing.
advocates.
Amazing young
She's a
woman.
great example.
Yeah.
So tell us all about your organization.
Okay. Live On New York really facilitates everything that has to do with life-saving transplants. So we handle everything within New York City, all of Nassau and Suffolk, and then all of the northern counties into Poughkeepsie. So everything that has to do with life-saving transplants really is facilitated through my organization. So we service an area of over 13 million people.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
huge.
Yeah, it is huge.
Big area.
That's a lot of education.
It
A
is.
lot of process.
But our bottom line mission is really to save lives. That's what our goal is, to save the lives of the recipients, but to also support the donor families through the grieving process and spread the word of the legacy of the donor. That's our goals.
So just on an annual basis between donors and recipients, how many lives are you affecting?
Well, we're affecting thousands because one person can actually save up to 8 lives.
Well,
through
so tell us
organ
about
donation.
that. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Through organ
How?
donation, because
Yeah.
you can donate both kidneys, both lungs, your liver, pancreas, your heart.
Oh my goodness.
One person can donate up to eight organs via transplant and enhance up to 50 lives through tissue transplants. And that could be skin for people that are badly burned in fires. It could be bone that's used in knee replacements. It could be used in dental surgery. So one person can make a huge difference.
I don't think, I doubt the general population really knows that.
Or thinks
Right.
about
Or thinks
it. Or
about
thinks
that
about it.
because
Yeah.
You know.
the
Well, you're
impact is
asked.
tremendous
Yeah.
that you could have if unfortunately you're passed,
Right.
well, we're all going to pass away. And if there's that opportunity.
The point that they ask you, if you want to be
Right.
there's no education as to what that means.
Right,
So
I would
that's
say-
the disconnect.
Yeah, that's
you
the
know?
difficulty. I mean, most
Yeah.
people are going to register to be an organ donor when they go to the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
Either
Yeah.
get their driver's license for the first time or renew.
Right.
And there's really no opportunity to really educate yourself before that time.
You don't even think about it.
That's really where we come in. So we do a lot of outreach efforts, a lot of grassroots community work. We go to a lot of events, do presentations. Jillian and I work together, and we go out and educate the community on the importance of donation.
Well,
One of
that's,
the,
I mean, you're branding the whole initiative through people like Jillian.
Of course,
which
she's
is
a great example
phenomenal.
of the
Yes.
miracle
Right.
of
and
transplant.
Cindy, both. you know?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
One of the positive steps that's occurred here in New York is the healthcare proxy law allows for organ donation.
Yes, it's
So-
section like 3 or 4 on
Right.
that, the healthcare
That's
provision law.
exactly right. And we are, as a planner, I'm an estate planner.
Yes.
Always talking to my clients about the importance of the healthcare proxy for healthcare decision-making in case you become incapacitated, and the provisions regarding organ donation. So we in our own way do our best to answer questions and educate. And it's often, like you said, it's probably like going to the DMV.
Exactly.
It's the first time they're thinking about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I
And,
mean,
and
it's-
sometimes I'll have a client say, oh, no, I would never want to do that. And I always say to them, look, you're going to go home, you're going to come back in a few weeks, just give it some thought. And think about that, you can save lives.
Yeah.
And a good number of them do, think it
back.
through. It's just
Yes.
the fear factor first.
course.
But once you get past the fear,
Of
it's
course.
like, why not?
I know it.
Why
It's-
wouldn't you?
I mean, sometimes people say to me, "Oh, I'm going to be cremated,"
Right.
but I wouldn't want to be cut up. I'm like, you realize you're not going to be alive when this happens,
that makes
right?
no sense.
No, but
Right.
I just think it's just the idea of
Yeah.
death. It's
Yes.
just for a lot of people, it's very difficult.
Take
Right.
steps.
It's
to get
little
through it.
steps,
Yeah.
and we hope that every opportunity that we have to educate someone along the way will lead to a positive result in the end. So maybe they'll see the story of Jillian and hear her story and say, that's something to consider. And the next time they go to the DMV, New York State also allows 2 other things that allow you to register to be an organ donor. When you register to vote, New
Right.
York State is the only state that actually allows you to be an organ donor when you go to register to vote.
Great information.
And then they have a new program in the 5 boroughs, which is IDNYC, which allows people to get, discounts at their local museums and zoos and things like that.
Yes.
And that also has the question about organ donation. Our goal is really to create a culture of
Yes,
donation
of
where
giving.
it's something that's not unusual for people.
Right.
It's something that they're used to discussing so that
And
there's less of a
seeing.
stigma
And
about
seeing
it.
Yeah. Are there any restrictions on age or can you?
There really isn't any restrictions. It's dependent on the health
Right,
of the
if you're
donor.
healthy,
So,
yeah.
sometimes people actually at older ages are actually healthier than sometimes people at younger ages. They take better care of themselves.
Interesting.
We've actually had donors in their 90s that were
Wow.
able to donate and save lives. So we always say don't rule yourself out. We feel like everybody should take the opportunity to register. You never know who you could help.
How did you get involved in this work?
It's a little bit roundabout story. I actually was a financial planner for about 15 years
Okay.
before I began in this organization. I had a friend who died very suddenly of a brain aneurysm.
Oh my goodness.
And you start to think about a lot of things about your life and what you want to do, and
Yes.
every day really looks differently to you.
Yes.
And I kind of was led toward the idea of organ donation, got some information, and then there was an opportunity. And I thought, what a great legacy that would be for my friend to be able to educate people and to save lives. So I've been here ever since. That was 12 years ago.
Amazing. That's an incredible organization. You do such important work.
That's our goal.
So I'm going to ask a very basic question. Like, who's the typical person, if there is such a person, who would contact you? Like, why would I call you?
Right.
You know?
Why would you reach out to me?
Yeah, why would I reach out to you?
Well, I think that a lot of organizations actually, very similar to what you talked about in the work that you do,
Right.
Are trying to educate their constituents. It could be your local church.
Right.
It could be your local community organization. You could have a health fair. You could have a voter registration drive and you'd like us to participate. All those are activities that we get involved in. As I said before, we're trying to create a culture of donation so that it's something that people are used to seeing. They're used to answering the question about donations, so there's less misconceptions about it. So that's usually who would reach out to us and have us get involved.
So,
Incredible.
name of the organization, how do we contact you?
Our organization is Live On New York, and we have a great website, which is www.liveonnewyork.org.
Okay.
And we have a lot of information on the website. In addition, you can get in touch with me if you want to have me come out.
And will you take donations?
We definitely
Like
take
financial donations? I'm
financial
talking
donations. We're not for profit,
Yeah.
but we definitely have, people that donate to us in memory of their loved one,
Okay.
To support our efforts.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Takes money.
But of
help.
course, to do everything.
That's right.
That's right.
So
What
yes,
allows
we
you to
accept
get
those.
those good things
But
done.
our real goal is hopefully to have people hear about the importance of donation and take action, which is to
Fabulous.
register to be an organ donor. We prefer that over anything else.
Thank you so much for being with
Thank
us
you for
today.
having
You
us.
are such an advocate for your cause.
You are a dynamo. You are awesome.
Thank you
And
so much.
thanks for all the great work that you're doing, really.
It really is.
Wonderful.
Incredible. Today we've heard wonderful stories of hope. Organ donation makes it possible to give everyday people their lives back. And it is truly with profound gratitude that we honor Cindy and Jillian and all of the donors for their gift of life.
For a list of resources, please visit Family Comes First at my law firm's website, bjrussolaw.com. And thanks to all our viewers for joining us. And remember, family truly does come first.